Number 5. President Trump. This is probably the most famous prediction attributed to America's favorite family, and you gotta admit it's a little bit kooky, so let's just get it right out of the way so we can do the rest of the video. In the season 11 episode, Bart to the Future, we get a glimpse into one of the many possible future timelines for the Simpsons family. It's a pretty good episode. The family has a picnic disturb and stops off at a nearby casino. Bart sneaks on in and is caught by the manager, who wants to show him a vision of his future if he keeps up his nefarious ways. It's pretty depressing. Bart grows up to be a loser slacker who's roommates with Ralph, and Lisa grows up to be president of the United States. And she's doing a pretty good job, managing with all the troubles left behind from President Trump. Wait, when did this episode air? 2000? 2000, okay, oof. Now obviously this episode gained a ton of notoriety and popularity after 2016, and I wonder why. All because of a throwaway joke. Obviously the creative team had to speak out on this one. Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons, said that he never thought he'd actually become president. Dan Greeny, writer for the show and the writer of that joke in question, offered this in an interview saying, "It just seemed like the logical last stop before hitting bottom. It was pitched because it was consistent with the vision of America going insane." No comments. This prediction even gets referenced much later on in the series. An episode from season 28, airing 4 days after the inauguration, has Bart writing on the chalkboard, "It sucks being right sometimes," obviously alluding to the controversial president's election. Now you've probably seen an image passed around the net too of Trump descending an elevator looking exactly like a real picture of the 45th. Well, the Simpsons are good, but they're not that good. Now the first joke we mentioned is from 2000, but that picture that you've probably seen an uncle share on Facebook all the time is from a digital webisode from 2015, around the time the campaign was happening. So they only predicted it the once. And that's probably enough. Now if you're a big Top 5 Scary fan, you know I love predictions, all the greats. Nostradamus, Baba Vanga, Homer Simpson, and I predict that you'll keep subscribing for scary videos hot and fresh every day. Let's keep on going. Number 4. Disney buying Fox. Well, maybe this one is only terrifying if you're afraid of corporate conglomerates. In the 1998 episode, When You Dish Upon a Star, through a series of contrivances, Homer crashes through the window of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger, and ends up becoming friends with the stars, rubbing elbows with a few Hollywood alums, including Ron Howard, beloved Hollywood director and narrator from Arrested Development. Over the course of the episode, Homer desperately tries to get Ron to produce his screenplay, a masterpiece about a scary robot driving instructor that travels through time for some reason or another, and a talking pie that's the robot's best friend. Now all this is a bit of a preamble because the prediction comes right at the end of the episode, in a blink and you'll miss a joke. When Ron Howard does end up pitching Homer's script, we see a sign on the 20th Century Fox building that says a subdivision of the Walt Disney Company, a full 21 years before Fox would be absorbed into Disney. Now showrunner Al Jean tried to downplay this. When someone asked him about it, he said, "Predictions? I predict that people will make far too much of that mere coincidence." Which I guess he is, right? Because here I am, talking about it now to you. But if he predicted that, and he's right about that, then is he trying to downplay the other predictions? How did you know, Mr. Jean? Did a wizard do it? Now on another note, I think this is kind of funny, but if you want to watch The Simpsons online, you have to go to Disney Plus, since that's where the entire series is streaming. And on Disney Plus, there's a subcategory called Simpsons Predicts, which was very helpful for this episode. It's a playlist of all the episodes attributed to have a little soothsaying. All the episodes I mentioned are going to be on that list if you want to brush up after the video, including When You Dish Upon a Star. I think it's kind of a funny coincidence that they include an episode based on a 1-second frame predicting that Disney will buy Simpsons on their collection of things Simpsons predicted on their Disney website. Okay, I'm rambling like I'm Abe Simpson. Number 3, Tomacco. Now like I was saying, I wore an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. Oh, sorry, I'm still rambling. Our next prediction from The Simpsons is kind of a cheat because the person in question was directly inspired by the episode, but the context is terrifying and hilarious enough. In the season 11 episode, E.I.E.I. Annoyed Grunt, after becoming obsessed with the concept of dueling, Homer goes around challenging just about everyone in Springfield until he crosses the rich Texan, who actually accepts Homer's duel. Terrified, he flees to his childhood farmstead and decides to begin life anew as a rural farmer. But after having some trouble growing anything, he asks Lenny and Carl for a little plutonium and he kickstarts a crop he calls Tomacco, a rancid combination of tobacco and tomatoes. Now the joke here obviously is that is disgusting and no one in their right mind would ever want to eat that, but never underestimate a dedicated fan base, because in 2003, scientist Rob Barr wanted to grow his own Tomacco, and the absolute madman actually did it. He claims what he initially grew he thinks would have been completely inedible and lethal for humans to eat. Why did he do this? Well, the answer is honestly a lot more earnest than you might think. He's just a massive fan of The Simpsons, and this episode was one of his all-time favorites. He loved the anti-smoking message, and he was curious if a dumb pun was possible to grow into a real plant, and it totally was. He even sent off one of his Tomacco plants to the writing team responsible for the episode, and as a reward, he was even brought on to do DVD commentary of the episode after growing it, elevating himself to Simpsons superfan status. And I cannot imagine that they tasted good. Number 2, the NSA, and Tom Hanks a little bit. Okay, take your brain back to 2007. Remember the Simpsons movie? Absolute classic. Basically, just 2 hours of The Simpsons on fire. Some of the best jokes they've ever had, taking the show we love to its biggest extremes. After Springfield's toxic waste problem becomes too much to bear on the rest of the country, President Schwarzenegger, and don't worry, that's not the prediction, decides that the best solution is to place a big glass dome over the city of Springfield to contain the problem. The Simpsons escape and find themselves on the run. Now, funny enough, in this scene, Bart takes a dig at Disney, wearing a bra on his head to look like Mickey Mouse, and saying he's the symbol of an evil corporate overlord. If only he knew. Marge is talking to Lisa about how they need to get to Seattle to tell everyone of the plot to destroy Springfield, and Lisa shushes her mom, warning her not to speak so loudly because people could be listening in. Well, Marge reassures her that no one is listening, until it's revealed that a dummy conductor has been listening and broadcasting the entire conversation to the NSA. Now, government surveillance was already a pretty popular conspiracy around the time the movie was made, but after the revelations of 2013, when it came out that the NSA was in fact doing that exact thing on the general population, a funny joke now seems prophetic. There's another prediction in the Simpsons movie that matches up pretty amusingly well with our real world. Near the end of the film, Tom Hanks films a promotional video for the US government and says, "The US government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine." Pretty funny joke featuring America's dad. But then, in 2022, this basically happened like for actual real, when the current administration ran an anniversary campaign ad featuring Tom Hanks narrating the events of the first year of the Biden administration. Everyone raced to Twitter to comment that, yep, Simpsons did it first. The Simpsons had hit the nail on the head once again. Number 1, Siegfried and Roy. Now, some of our younger viewers might not even have any idea who these guys are. Maybe you're like me and you kinda know who they are through pop culture osmosis more than you do as real icons. Most specifically The Simpsons. The season 5 episode, Springfield with a $, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling, centers around Mr. Burns' plan to dominate Springfield's wharf after the town legalizes gambling in a way to revitalize its economy. It's probably a top 5 episode for me. There's just so many good bits in this one. From Homer singing about Marge's gambling demon to Mr. Burns going all Howard Hughes with the Spruce Moose and Homer's hilariously bad Florida costume for Lisa, and the Siegfried and Roy parody, Gunther and Ernst. The pair of German performers are a clear-as-day stand-in for Siegfried and Roy, the famous Las Vegas big cat performing duo. Now, in the episode, Gunther and Ernst joke that their tiger, Anastasia, loves her new life in show business compared to the wilds of the jungle. And we get a quick flash cut to Anastasia sleeping happily before she's apprehended by the duo. The scene cuts back and Anastasia sicks herself on the duo, tearing them apart. It was a pretty quick throwaway joke at the expense of 2 very minor Simpsons side characters, but in 2003 it became unfortunately tragic when an extremely similar incident would happen to the real-life inspiration. During a show, a tiger manticore attacked Roy critically, leaving him with a stroke and unable to ever perform again. No word on if the real duo ever saw the Simpsons episode. Now, the writing team for the episode commented on the unfortunate coincidence, saying they had no idea that it would ever actually happen, but stated that it was bound to happen eventually. As it stands, it's now a bit of a lip-biting moment in an otherwise absolutely classic episode. Number 5, Stonecutters and the Secret Order. Season 6 is up there as one of the best seasons of The Simpsons overall. Like, it was just banger after banger. Tons of classic episodes. You got the Who Shot Mr. Burns plotline, some of the best in the series. There's a bunch of season 6 episodes on this list, just to show how seminal it was. One of the more memorable ones is Homer the Great, where a downtrodden Homer feels he has no place in the world or higher meaning entertaining until he finds himself involved in a gentleman's club called the Stonecutters, a secret centuries-old order Homer finds himself at the center of when he is revealed to be the prophesized chosen one of the group. Now, as it turns out, the Stonecutters are far more than just a place for the guys to play dominoes and kick back. They're also a powerful clandestine lobby group pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're behind everything. They're rigging the Oscars, they bury the electric car, they keep Martians under wraps, and they find consistent work for 80s icon Steve Guttenberg. The Stonecutters are a fairly obvious stand-in for various conspiracy theories like the Freemasons or the Illuminati, and if you believe the conspiracies, and I bet you do because you're watching these videos, allegedly they run the world behind the scenes. It's always rumored and long thought that they're controlling everything from the shadows. Could the Simpsons writers be letting the public know the truth of these sinister dealings? How these organizations work? Could Homer's secret monkey society be pulling the strings? Now, of course, if I was in a secret cabal that had made the world into my puppets, one of the first things I would do is discredit all the theories about my organization by, putting them in episodes of a beloved animated comedy show, making it seem like you'd have to be nuts to believe in that sort of thing. But that's just what I would do if I was part of a secret order controlling things. And if you're looking for more conspiracies, theories about beloved shows from your childhood, we have got plenty of that. Click through Top 5 Scary and I'm sure you'll find something worth shrieking at. Stay subscribed, stay scared, but most importantly, keep watching this video right now because we got way more weird Simpsons predictions coming up for you right after this. Number 4. Super realistic holograms. The Simpsons has been going on for so long that their episodes that were once in the past are now set in the future. Iconic Lisa's wedding episode, by the way, another season 6 episode. That episode's future flash forward took place in 2010. Very funny to think about that now when they say Homer was a child, he was a child in the 90s. I'm not ready for him to age up for a few years to be a 2000s kid. Anyway, it's just funny seeing what they thought the future was going to look like and how we keep surpassing those things, and we'll see where it goes from there. Eventually, the Simpsons started doing a little mini story arc of sorts with their future flash forward episodes, and one of them is in the episode Holidays of Future Past from the series' 23rd season. So I could probably say anything happened in this episode. I doubt anybody's still watching then. I'm getting off topic here. Bart is down on his luck, and as one could probably expect, he's still living under the thumb of Principal Skinner, who's now Landlord Skinner at the Springfield Elementary Loft. Classrooms getting converted into apartments is depressing, but not really the scary prediction we're going for here. It's when Bart's watching Itchy and Scratchy. Instead of it being an animated show, it is now a 3D hologram that seems like it physically exists within the environment. It's a tangible thing. It's even splattering all over the walls behind on what used to be the chalkboard Bart was writing on every day. Now, holograms are already getting pretty out there in terms of technological advancements. Our man Homer himself was even a hologram, joining his father Matt Groening up on stage at Comic-Con one year. And I think it's possible that in the eventual dark future, we'll have holograms that exist as real physical objects you can touch, interact with, and I wouldn't be surprised if we started to see hologram TV shows. Hologram The Simpsons would be a lot of fun. Hologram South Park, I don't know if I'd let that into my home. I'm not 100% confident about that. I do suspect though, if there was holograms that you could touch and interact with, we would never see anybody going outside again, ever, if that happens. Number 3, mind controlling in music. In season 12, all the way back in 2001, crazy how those episodes now seem like the really old ones. We got an episode called New Kids on the Block, which saw Bart and his friends Milhouse and Ralph and his sometimes friend, sometimes bully Nelson getting recruited to become the hottest boy band in Springfield. I don't know why, this one was always one of my favorites as a youngster. I think I just liked them singing. In the episode, a producer named LT Smash catches wind of one of Bart's pranks and is instantly enamored with his antics and signs him up to be the new face of his boy band party posse. Doesn't matter that the kids can't sing, they're all auto-tuned using NASA voice-changing technology. The boys end up having a smash hit single, a patriotic anthem called Drop da Bomb, a catchy song about how awesome the US forces are. But it's his chorus that really sticks out. They got these little belly dancers singing Ivan et Niage, and it gets stuck in your head easily, but it's a covert message. It's just join the Navy backwards, and that's still stuck in my head all to this day. So even as joke propaganda, that's really wormed its way into my brain. It turns out that LT Smash was never a record producer. He's Lieutenant Smash, and the whole boy band is just a convoluted scheme to get people to subconsciously want to join the Navy. I'm pretty sure the Village People did a similar thing and with the YMCA. The idea of music being used as a secretive tool to sway the public secretly has been a very popular conspiracy theory for years, with some believing, rap and hip-hop are Illuminati puppets for mind control or world domination. I know it would certainly explain how much Lil Nas X's music gets stuck in my head. Industry baby, industry plant, maybe, by the Stonecutters even. This sort of thing really isn't that far off, to be honest, from all the wild predictions on this list so far. Using media to sway public opinion for propaganda is way more commonplace than I think any of us really realize. I mean, just last year, the film Top Gun Maverick, hugely popular movie, everybody saw it, contained this very subliminal message throughout the script where every time you saw a fighter jet flying around with sweet 80s music, you thought, wow, flying a plane would be so cool. I should fly a plane for the US Air Force. It's just crazy how subliminal they do that sort of stuff. Number 2, sentient robots. Besides The Simpsons, one of my all-time favorite TV shows is HBO's Westworld. Well, at least the first 2 seasons. I don't really want to talk about what happened to Westworld. Deserve better. Isn't it sad when a great show lives past its prime and it seems like the original magic is long gone, but the characters keep moving forward, tired like zombies? Anyway, speaking of The Simpsons, in another season 6 classic episode, I told ya, Itchy and Scratchy Land, Lisa and Bart egg the family to take them to Itchy and Scratchy Land, a Disney World parody with state-of-the-art animatronics of the most beloved violent cat and mouse duo. Bart and Homer end up getting themselves involved in all sorts of trouble, tormenting the mascots and wreaking havoc around the park, and it's not long before this Disney World parody shifts to a Westworld parody. The movie. The show wasn't out just yet. The robots go haywire, attacking everybody, no longer able to distinguish friend from foe. Funny enough, this isn't even the only Westworld parody on the show. Very recently, the last Treehouse of Horror was a parody of the HBO show, revealing that the entire show was actually the product of a highly immersive amusement park. Now, we're not quite there yet. Sadly, we're not quite at the level of technology where you can go to a theme park staffed by interactable robots. I know this because if there was, I would never spend a second anywhere but there. But we are really getting there. In 2020, South Korea saw the opening of the Jeongnam Masan Robot Land, the world's first totally robot-themed amusement park. Now, the robots at this amusement park, they look pretty cute, all things considered, because I guess, you're not gonna scare them right away. But that's because they're luring you into a false sense of security. All it takes is one robot snapping after having the last bit of ice cream smeared across its lens and rising up against its human overlords, and we get a full-scale rebellion on our hands, and The Simpsons called it first. I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. And a quick aside, if they ever made a cowboy robot amusement park, I would actually be so nice to the cowboy robots, and I would never do anything bad to them, ever. Number 1, zombies. You would be surprised how often in the futuristic Simpsons episodes that it's suggested that zombies are going to be a serious problem at some point. I didn't know how many modern episodes of The Simpsons have these flash forward timelines. I haven't seen anything past season 12 really, but it's enough that it's starting to make me just a little bit suspicious. This comes up genuinely more than you think it would. Clearly, someone in the writer's room of The Simpsons had a pretty firm belief that this is how society's going to end. Now, it could just be because The Walking Dead is very popular, and we as a people love zombies in our pop culture, guilty as charged. But really, it just shows up enough that I felt like I had to bring it up. In 2 separate episodes showing possible visions of The Simpsons' future, we're told there's a low-level zombie apocalypse going on. I wouldn't give this too much weight normally, but The Simpsons has been right about enough stuff that I think, it's just something we should consider, at least something to hear out. The ending of Homer Goes to Prep School, after Homer sees that society would end up surviving a total collapse, the episode ends with a shot of a meteor with zombies coming to Springfield. And it seems like this might be a little offhanded joke, but it might be canon because then in the episode, Days of Future, again in the future timeline, zombies are part of society, with Lisa working at a charity looking after the undead. Is this a possible glimpse into a dark future? I kind of think that the way they react in The Simpsons is more accurate to how we do with zombies. I don't think we'd have a full-blown Last of Us thing, maybe for a couple weeks, but I feel like we just work around it. I think you'd see zombies working as Uber Eats couriers or just hanging out on the street and someone would tug on them on a leash and stuff. Besides, I'm not that afraid of seeing a shell of someone's former self shambling around as a corpse. I've seen modern episodes of The Simpsons. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being too mean to end the video with.
Starting off this countdown, we have the robot takeover. At this point, artificial intelligence is playing a huge role in our lives. We got smart watches, speakers, homes, and fridges. It's crazy. That's not all. scientists have created a number of super smart robots, like the robot police dog. Currently, some police departments have been testing out using a robotic dog. The New York Police Department was seen using one just last month, and it was received with a lot of backlash. Not only that, but another company made a child robot that is learning itself by interacting with humans and observing their behaviors. It then records this and then copies it back. And on top of that, hospitals are testing the use of surgery robots to help out. Here's the thing. The Simpsons, in a number of episodes, have predicted a robot takeover. One of them being the episode titled Itchy and Scratchy Land, which was episode 4 in season 6. In this episode, large animatronic robots go haywire and cause mass destruction. They basically turn into killing machines, threatening the Simpsons' lives. Then there's the episode titled Them Robots, which is the 17th episode of season 23. In this episode, Mr. Burns replaces all of the power plant workers with robots. But this goes terribly wrong, and the robots start to turn on the community. So the Simpsons predicted that robots will take all of our jobs, but also that they will turn against us and try to wipe out the human race. Seriously, I could see this ending super badly for all of us. These robots are becoming smarter than us all. Coming in at number 4, we have the zombie outbreak. The Simpsons have featured a zombie outbreak in a number of their Treehouse of Horror episodes. In one episode titled Don't Have a Cow, Mankind, the citizens of Springfield get infected from eating burgers. Hold on though, guess what the burgers are infected with? A virus. And then this turns them into these zombie-like creatures. Great. So could it be that this virus will mutate and start to turn everyone into a zombie-like state? Or maybe another virus will veer its ugly little head and threaten the human race. Could 2022 be the year that this happens? Let's hope not. I don't even know what to think anymore. Let's just hope that this doesn't come true. Moving on to number 3, we have the president's wife. This next prediction is going to send chills down your spine. So in season 14, episode 21 of The Simpsons titled Bart of War, an interesting headline can be seen across the newspaper in one of the scenes. The newspaper headline reads, "President shoots his wife." What now? Now this episode came out in 2003. The president at the time was George W. Bush, and clearly he did not shoot his wife. So the headline hasn't come true yet. Maybe it wasn't Bush that they were referring to. Could 2022 be the year that this comes true? Should Jill Biden be concerned? Should we be concerned? Even if that headline was just meant as a joke, it's a pretty dark one. Let's just hope that Joe doesn't go crazy and shoot his wife. You know what? Let's just hope that no president ever does that. In our second spot, we have World War III. Another world war would be absolutely disastrous for a number of reasons, I'm sure you can imagine. But could 2022 be the year that another world war might break out? It might just be, according to The Simpsons. In the 1995 episode titled Lisa's Wedding, we dive 15 years into the future. From there, we see what it's like in the future. Now, in this episode, we see Homer and Lisa's fiance, Hugh, drinking at Moe's bar. In this scene, Moe realizes that Hugh is from England and mocks him by saying, and I quote, "We saved you in World War II." Now, it's what Hugh responds with that has sparked the interest of many individuals. He replies saying, "Yeah, well, we saved you in World War III." Great. So it may just be that another war is about to begin. Now, what makes this all worse is that this particular Simpsons episode was filled with predictions that have actually come true, like virtual reality games, FaceTime, and Apple Watches. This episode predicted all that and more years before those things actually came out. So let's hope that this other prediction they made doesn't come true as well. Like, should we start building our doomsday bunkers or what? And in our number 1 spot, we have the disastrous asteroid. Just when you thought the predictions for 2022 couldn't get any worse, we have this one. A giant asteroid might come crashing down to Earth and kill us all. In the 14th episode of season 6 titled Bart's Comet, Bart discovers a comet that is headed straight towards Earth. They believe that the comet is going to destroy life as they know it. And guess what? NASA has reported that asteroids are coming closer and closer to Earth. Just this year, NASA was, and probably still is, tracking a giant asteroid traveling at around 28,000 miles per hour that's headed towards Earth's orbit. This asteroid is around 1,500 feet wide. Its impact could be very disastrous. Plus, we keep having these near misses and close calls. Let's hope that this prediction does not come true. Now, here's some good news, okay? The Simpsons episode ends with the comet being burnt up into little pieces, causing no harm to the Earth. Amen. So maybe we're safe. For now.
Number 5. Realistic holograms. In the episode Holidays of Future Past, we get another glimpse into the future timeline of the Simpsons family. Bart is living in the refurbished Springfield Elementary, which is now low-income housing, meaning Bart is still under the thumb of Principal Skinner, who's now Landlord Skinner of the lofts at Springfield Elementary. A little side prediction, I absolutely think this is going to happen. I definitely think people are going to live in decommissioned schools. You know, we're not going to need them anymore if we're all just downloading Wikipedia onto a USB into our consciousness. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, to pass the time, Bart is still into Itchy and Scratchy, except instead of watching it on TV, Bart watches it as a live projected hologram in front of him. Itchy and Scratchy then proceed to do exactly what they do best, which is scratch, bite, and inflict grievous bodily harm on one another, which then splatters all over the walls of Miss Krabappel's former classroom behind him. Now, hologram technology is already leaps and bounds, making incredible strides. I mean, in our lifetime, we've seen it go from science fiction to regular reality. The Tupac hologram blew our minds when we first saw it, still blows mine. We even saw Homer as a hologram actually making a surprise appearance at a Comic-Con a few years back with his father, Matt Groening. Now, the real development will be when we get holograms like shown in this episode, that you could interact with physically or could have an interaction with the environment around you, which I think is all kinds of scary. I mean, imagine if a hologram, digital light conjured, could touch you or grab you. Imagine the ramifications of that. Or don't, to be honest, because I actually don't really want to think about it. But if you do want something to think about, why not thinking about subscribing to Top 5 Scary? We got videos every single day for your viewing pleasure. Let's keep going. Number 4. Economic crash. Look, things aren't doing too great economy-wise lately. You tried to buy butter recently? A trip to the grocery store just isn't what it used to be. And maybe the Simpsons writing team knows more than they're letting on. In a recent-ish episode from the 24th season, Homer goes to prep school. Homer meets a new friend who's voiced by Tom Waits, bizarrely enough. The man overhears Homer at Moe's talking about how he doesn't think society could survive a collapse, and the man agrees with him and warns Homer that soon there'll be economic disaster, and the supermarkets will collapse, and the United States will come down with it. Homer insists that America can't fall because it's a strong empire like Rome. The man then pulls out an iPad and shows Homer an unspecified vague video with no dates that warn him of a vague impending apocalypse, which is more than enough to convince a simpleton like Homer to join their cult-like group of survivalist preppers, prepping for what they believe to be the inevitable collapse. Of course, this is a pretty real phenomenon. We all know about preppers by now. Preppers are a recognized group. There was that reality show for a while, so that's all very real. Whether or not there's an incoming collapse and the supermarkets will be empty and we'll all be raiding, who's to say? I'm not an economist, I'm a YouTube host, so all I can say is that I've noticed butter is a lot more expensive than they usually are. In the end, Homer inadvertently triggers an event that causes a collapse in Springfield, but to his and the preppers' dismay, Springfield bounces back like nothing happens. So maybe we don't need to be worried. You know, in the event of a societal shutdown, as long as we have each other and a couple people remember some good jokes from The Simpsons, I think we could survive an apocalypse together. Number 3. Cloning blues. The Simpsons heads towards the future fairly often in the modern seasons these days. I didn't know that. I guess once you've been on for 34 years, you're gonna have to start inching towards the future eventually. Now, in previous episodes set in the near future, like the classics Lisa's Wedding or Bart to the Future, they've been surprisingly bang on with their predictions. I'm sure we all know about they make a joke about President Trump in Bart to the Future, but also some pretty smaller stuff here and there, like FaceTime being the primary method of communicating in the future. Well, the 18th episode of season 25, Days of Future Future, takes us back to the future Simpsons timeline. The episode shows us a grim fate, Homer's death. The family is devastated until Homer is swiftly cloned and replaced, memories intact. Of course, Homer being Homer, this new Homer does not last very long, and his clones have to be replaced like batteries in a smoke detector, and he ends up going through Dr. Frink's entire supply of clone bodies in a matter of days. Eventually, Homer's consciousness is given over to a robotic body, kinda a la Westworld. Now obviously this technology is pretty fantastical, and I would wager we're definitely a few years off, and the very least before we'll see a human being stepping out of a test tube with their memories intact and ready to go face the world. But I think it's more likely coming soon than it is later. Number 2. Journey to Mars. Look, eventually we're gonna have to leave this planet behind, you know? It had a good run, can't deny that, but someday we gotta just move on, you know? It's the nature of humanity, exploring beyond the final frontier. In the 16th episode of season 27, we get a possible glimpse into this, with the episode featuring Marge and Lisa volunteering to be some of humanity's first pioneers into space, volunteering to go live on Mars. In the episode, a private company called Exploration Inc. is projecting to send people into space to colonize the third rock from the sun by the year 2026 and are looking for the first colonists. Marge learns during the training period that much of the skills they're looking for are similar to housework, one of Marge's favorite activities, leading her to become the perfect candidate, irritating Lisa, who wanted to be the first person on Mars. In the end, the two of them end up living there by 2050. Now, in the real world, going to Mars is a massive goal for the private company SpaceX, the other company that the CEO of Twitter runs. In the past, they've speculated that they would have people reaching Mars by now, but have pushed back a bit on that deadline. Their most recent estimations claim that by 2029, SpaceX will be sending out the first manned flights to the Red Planet to check it out. Will we get there by then? Honestly, I can see it happening. I think that's another one where we're inching closer with each passing day. The only question now is who will get there first, us or the Simpsons in 2026. That's the deadline we've got to meet or beat. And number 1, zombies. This one honestly came up a lot more than I think it would as I was looking for Simpsons predictions. Somebody in the writer's room has a very firm belief that this is how society is going to end. Now, it could just be because The Walking Dead has been really popular for the last 10 years and we as a people love zombies in our pop culture, but it shows up enough times in Simpsons future episodes that I thought it was worth noting. It's worth noting in 2 different episodes on this list even, you know, the ones that give us a look into the Simpsons canon, they both reference a zombie apocalypse. In the ending of Homer Goes to Prep School, after Homer sees that society would survive a collapse, at the end of the episode we see a shot of a meteor with zombies coming to Springfield. In fact, it's almost lightly implied that in the Simpsons universe there was kind of a low-grade zombie apocalypse. Because then, in the episode Days of Future Future, zombies seem to be just part of society, with Lisa working at a soup kitchen looking after the undead. Is this a glimpse into a dark future? I honestly think the way they treat zombies in The Simpsons is more or less how we deal with zombies. I don't think we'd have a full-blown Walking Dead thing. Maybe that would happen for a couple of weeks, but honestly I think we just work around it. I think you'd see zombies working minimum wage jobs. I think they'd be Uber Eats couriers or just like hanging out on the streets. I'm not afraid of seeing a shell of someone's former self shambling around as a corpse. I hope The Simpsons never ends, if nothing else, so they can always be around to predict the future.